Hello, everybody. This is Andrew Gomes. This is episode 59 of our podcast, Artificial Intelligence and Cybersurgery. This is the official podcast for our journal, Artificial Intelligence Surgery. I am here with my co-host, Professor and Dr. Vincent Grasso, and I'll let him introduce our next guest.
Thanks, Andrew. It's exciting. We're closing up season 2, and it's great to have Harvey on. Harvey, we looked at your LinkedIn profile. It's a pleasure having you on our podcast. You seem to be doing some very interesting consulting, and as I spoke to Andrew before, physicians that move out and explore the MBA territory and formalize their business acumen with an MBA are able to do some interesting things on the consulting space. So we're curious to learn about how the MBA has helped you as a physician and the very interesting consulting work that you're doing in the international space. So please introduce yourself to our audience, give us some background on your education and projects, and welcome to the podcast.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having me. It's really excited to know that you're on the other side of the world, and here we are. It seems like we're in the same living room just chatting.
Yeah, what time
a little
is
bit
it
about
where you are?
It is 9 a.m. Here. So big picture, I'm an emergency room doctor. Been doing it for about 20 years. Love to pivot. And as you know, we're both all into education and learning, and the more we get, the better. Seeing technology over the past years, I have just gone crazy. When the first iPhone came out, I did the first IV app. You tapped it 3 times and it gave you the dose, and it went viral. Fast forward here in Texas, you're allowed to own your own emergency room. And so I was honored in that I was able to build about 20 of them, build my own billing company, staffing company, marketing, and then had my own hospital and urgent care. So it's really cool having that MD, but then as your question, having the MBA, being able to think outside the box and how can I see the business side of medicine. And then I know it changed all our lives outside of the iPhone when ChatGPT hit. That day, I was literally in this office thinking, playing with ChatGPT, and I thought, man, this is going to change the world. I'm going to write a book. And literally on the day that it came out, on November 30th, 2022, literally within the first couple minutes, I'm like, this is going to do it. And within a couple of weeks, I had a book out on how to use ChatGPT in healthcare.
Did you use
And the reason
ChatGPT to generate the book? I'm kidding.
Actually, it helped me with the outline, which was great. But good question. Fast forward, that book literally put me on the world stage. Countries around the world were calling me like, what do you mean ChatGPT? How are you using AI in healthcare? And as a result, I'm now an advisor for the country of Singapore, advisor here in Texas for the Texas Medical Association. And then another one that's kind of fun, a space company called me that they're putting satellites and data centers into outer space, and asked me if I could be part of their board to show them how AI could be used in space and help here on Earth. And there's some ideas that I had for them. So it's pretty cool.
Where you're in Texas right now?
I'm in Dallas, Texas.
You're in Dallas. Okay, so I was about to say, it sounds like you're close to Houston. If you're talking to astronaut guys. Yeah.
No, and that's another project I'm working on. I was just asked to help for Mission Mars platform using AI and ER doctors and kind of cloning a doctor and putting them in a box basically so that you can send someone to Mars and have a doctor with you.
I don't know if you watched Star Trek, but they had a Doctor Hologram. I can't remember what his name I think on the Voyager series, which was a great character, very, very cool concept. But that's basically, what you're trying to do.
Yeah. Literally another company. I'm in talks right now about doing that for next year to help them with another project, which is going to be exactly that, a hologram.
And how did you get hooked up with Singapore of all places?
This is an interesting comment. I do not believe in accidents. Just like you and I meeting, I don't believe that was an accident. Although it kind of seemed like we just kind of met by chance, but I think there was a bigger picture. I was on stage and I gave a talk about how AI and healthcare in the future, and as a doctor, and we see things differently. But then, as you know, having that MBA, we also see things differently. And then being an entrepreneur and having that AI hat, when I spoke, I come up with ideas that are really unique. I'm not looking at some journal like, oh, that's something we should talk about. I just put it all together. Well, as I'm coming off a stage, I was a keynote speaker. By chance, the Ministry of Health for Singapore was in the audience, and he asked if I could meet with him. And so when we met, he's like, Harvey, if you can do the things that you talked on stage and tell our country some of those advanced and futuristic ideas, I think we can work together to make that a vision, a possibility. And I was like, wow. It's like, okay, let's do it. So it's been a fun position.
Yeah, you've obviously been to Singapore. That is quite an impressive place. It's like you travel for hours. Like I think it took me 24 hours to get there, and then I arrived. I'm like, I'm in Miami. What's going on here? It's, it's so modern. It's like landing.
Yeah,
Beautiful place.
it is.
So tell us, you seem to be more interested in generative AI. Is that really where your main interest in is, or what really excites you about AI? I know we only have about 20 minutes, but good luck with that question.
Yeah, honestly, I enjoy all the different flavors of it. It sounds like a political answer back, but whatever idea fits the mold. So if I see, okay, we have this problem, generative AI would be great, but maybe a RAG model, or maybe a hologram, or maybe some other type of technology could help. Maybe it's edge technology. And so depending what it is that I'm working on is the type that I'm using. I personally am biased. I really think these smart glasses, these are the Meta 3s, I mean Meta 2s rather, but the next Meta I'll be interested. But I really think edge technology and this will be the future in many different aspects in healthcare.
So Harvey, usually I like to ask people a little bit more where they came from and their background. So I'll just tell you, when I looked at you and I saw Singapore, I actually thought you were part Singaporean, but then I'm looking at your name, Harvey Castro, not so Singaporean. Maybe so if you could tell us a little bit about your background, where you did your training, why you wanted to become an emergency room doctor. We know why you got into AI, I think. But if you could give us a little bit more background, that would be great.
Yeah, I grew up in New York City. I'm a first generation American. My parents are from Colombia. I grew up literally with nothing, indigent, literally poverty, food stamps. And the reason I say that is because, ironically, my first big medical experience was I have this horrible cut on my hand. And I went to the ER, waited over 8 hours. And when they stitched me up, they didn't use any anesthesia. They just went raw and did it. And that just scarred me mentally and physically. And after that, I thought, I'm not going to let anyone have that type of healthcare again.
How
And
old
if
were
I
you?
have anything to say with that, I was 11 years old.
Wow. That's
And it just upsets me so bad that I was like, that was just horrible pain. And I waited like 7 hours and I felt like I was just some kind of number in a broken system. And it was bad. And so fast forward, that just really pushed me. And I said, I'm going to become a doctor. I told my mom when I was in my teens. And fast forward, looking back, I didn't realize I was beating all these odds. My dad wasn't illiterate. My mom was a teenager when she had me. She didn't have that education. And so fast forward, getting to where I'm at, I was just really passionate about how can I use healthcare? What can I do to do more? And in my mind, I'm like, I need to be an ER doctor. I need to be able to do the things that someone did to me, but do it in a good way and be that positive light. Fast forward, that energy and that passion really has pushed me to do what I'm doing today.
that's I can relate. I was born in the South Bronx. My dad is immigrant from the Caribbean, and he was actually a resident at Bronx Lebanon Hospital. Is that not too far from you? Were you up by
No.
Washington Heights?
Yeah, I was in Queens, but not far.
Ah, okay.
Yeah,
Nice.
cool.
And that's I can relate to that beginning. And emergency room now, how do you see AI applying specifically to emergency rooms? Because I work with with trauma doctors. We're writing a book now with Belinda Di Simone. We're writing a book on how AI can impact emergency surgery or trauma surgery. But obviously, in the emergency setting, you have less time, so it's a bit trickier. So how are you implementing AI specifically in the emergency room or in your
Yeah.
ER?
Yeah. I sold all the ERs I have, but when I consult the different hospital systems, I'm helping them create better predictive analytics in the emergency room. One of the things that I have to do in the ER, I'm now doing more telemedicine to keep my license, so I'm doing more of the AI stuff, is having to make a decision quickly. If I have predictive analytics to help me decide, is this person staying? Is this person going? What are the probability if I send them home that something bad will happen? So that's my number one job. I truly think being able to leverage AI, and let me give you a quick example. We all know the flu comes every year in different strains and comes in waves. If I have a predictive analytics telling me, hey, the flu is coming here, it's in the next zip code, or it's coming, or here are the things, or it got to the point where we don't test anymore, we're just treating because really much we think you have the flu just based on your symptoms. Fast forward, if we're able to use predictive analytics to the point where, as again, ER doctor, I'm seeing people with vomiting diarrhea, I'm like, it's the same old day. But if I have predictive analytics saying, hey, 7 other ERs in the area are having the same issue. Now, this isn't a virus. This could be maybe food poisoning. Maybe this is something else. So I think that alone would be one way. The second thing, because I know you're into surgery, the Apple Vision Pro. I know it could be goofy and the budget may not fit, but with these things on, if I'm taking care of you when seconds count, instead of me waiting for a lab and refreshing or waiting for it to pop, if it shows up in my visual field, now I know in real time. And if I have to do a procedure on you,
Yeah.
if I'm able to pull up your x-ray while I'm doing the procedure and I can see it and I can see better, or I can see the CAT scan or X, Y, and Z, man, that's one way that I can truly help you. I'm always this forward thinker. It just happened to be in front of me. I wrote this book back in February, and it's how to use the Apple Vision Pro in healthcare. And it's just another way. And I'm not promoting the book or pushing books. I'm just saying this is just one way.
Actually, no, actually, it's very interesting because usually we have surgeons usually on this podcast, obviously because our journal is the first journal that's dedicated exclusively to AI and surgery. But it's actually very interesting to me to talk to an emergency room doctor because you're very interested in glasses. And it really didn't occur to me how useful that could be to an emergency room doctor who doesn't have time. You're seeing a million patients. You don't have time to keep going back to a computer. And if you could have it, you're very fascinated by the idea of just having the information right there, and that would dramatically change your life. And it's actually it's so interesting to see you hold up these different products, and I'm understanding better the fascination with them. But the second the Apple product that you held up, is that for VR or can you see through it? It looks like you can't see through it.
No, this is the Apple Vision Pro. I took off the cover.
Okay. I was like, whoa,
But you
how
could
does
see
that work?
right through it. Oh yeah, no, you can see
Yeah,
right through it, which is awesome, you
yeah.
know? And I've heard some rumors saying that yes, they stopped production, but they're making them smaller, cheaper, and it will be announced here in 2025.
So Vincent, what do you think about some of these products? I personally myself, I've been waiting. I just bought for Christmas. I got the Apple Watch. And why do I want the Apple Watch? Honestly, I was waiting until it could be like Dick Tracy. I wanted to have I've been waiting for that, but I couldn't. But then I saw that, it has, the whole problem, the patent issue with the O2 saturation. I travel a lot and I've been called, is there a doctor on the flight? I mean, at least 20 times in my life. It seems like it seems I lost count. And, what a beautiful thing. I read about this doctor who a patient was ill, took off their iWatch and put it on the patient, got an O2 sat, got vitals, got everything. And I'm like, my goodness. I mean, I almost feel like, how can I be a doctor and not own an iWatch just for that reason alone? So I'm curious Vincent, how do you think some of these products, what the future of some of these products are for doctors and maybe for lay people?
Oh, sure. We, when we were doing our fellowships and stuff, we were working on advanced analytics and heads-up displays. It was a little too early for the marketplace, but when I did my surgical residency in New York, Harvey, at Sinai, but we
Oh, cool.
rotated through Lincoln Hospital in the Bronx, which was a pretty rough and tumble trauma center. And you know, you think about you're in an ER with a lot of people really critical, gunshot wounds, stabbings, you know, people that were exposed outside with a frozen leg and septic. And, you know, getting access to information is really important in that triage process, right? So,
Hmm.
you know, it'd be kind of nice having a heads-up display where information that you want, not information overload, because if you have access to everything, then you're overwhelmed with data. Really would make a difference in that triage process, et cetera, et cetera. So it's exciting to see it all coming together and becoming affordable, right? Because the glasses you showed, you know, they're not $50,000, right? So they're affordable, and you know, with a software package that allows you to display what you want and you customize. So this is all coming to the you know, the forefront. It's exciting. Do you have a beta site in your maybe Texas environment that you're using those glasses? And you know, do you have any beta sites at all running?
No, right now I'm working more as a thought leader in a sense, saying, hey, company X, you want something good or you want to create? This is something I would create. There's
Okay,
a lot of applications in the surgery world, as you know, 10 times more. But that's my goal. Can I inspire a company to create? And I know where there's a problem and there's a solution, and they can see how that could help. And on the business side, if they can make, like you said, some ROI, then they're going to do it.
sure.
Yeah, no, that's interesting, and I can't resist. But you know, we all know what happened to, or at least how health insurance is being viewed recently in the United States. How do you think AI can? Well, we know the dark side of AI, right? I mean, that they can set basically these algorithms to just deny 30% of people, hoping that X% won't, you know, resubmit the claim. But how do you actually view AI helping the process? I mean, do you do any work at all with analysis of how to make insurance companies, you know, function better for people?
I have done some consulting for different healthcare companies that are specifically they're on the United Health side of the insurance companies, how they could leverage. I'm giving them advice on different RAG models and different databases and how to create that so that they can make it's not, I don't want to say that for denial, but it's more to help the process move quicker. As an ER doctor that owned a hospital, I know that my accounts receivables I live by. At one point, it was crazy. I had to come up with $2 million every month to keep my doors open. And that was between all the people that I had to pay. And so I relied on my accounts receivables. So I personally told them, we need to make sure that this process, I didn't look at it more as denial. I look at it more as the quicker I can get money, the better. So if I saw a patient, I wouldn't pay my doctors until 30 days later on purpose so that I could run the bill and I'd have some push time. But if I could submit a bill and ideally get paid, gosh, even if it's a day later or a week later, that would change my life.
How many?
Having a business owner.
I remember when the last hospital I worked for in the United States, I think they basically had enough money in the bank for, I think it was 2 days. You know, they were down to 2 days, and that's what they lived by. Were you? I mean, you were down to at least 30 days, but how low was that window? It's kind of mind-boggling. I don't think people understand how tight, you know, hospitals and ERs are run.
Yeah, we weren't down to 2 days,
Yeah.
but we were, if I had to guess, we're probably down to about 30 days-ish, somewhere in there. The
Wow.
problem is we would see certain accounts receivables and we're like, oh my God, this hasn't been paid in a year. What are we doing? We have to resubmit. And I was really worried that our aging AR was getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and we had enough to cover our bills, but this portion was taking too long, and the
What do you
denials were
mean? What do
just
you mean by AR? Because I was
accounts
okay.
receivable, sorry,
Okay, I was thinking
AR.
augmented reality. So
No,
okay.
AR. And so that was really concerning. And we had to get to the point where we just told the bank, all right, let's have a revolving credit so that if we do dip, we know we're getting money maybe in a week or 2 weeks. And we know we have this cushion. We don't want to use it. And we would just kind of use the bank's money to pay payroll. And then we knew their account. So we started playing with different locations and different
But
amounts. It was just crazy.
I probably shouldn't say this online, but I just thought of a great product. Because basically we know that insurance companies are using AI to manage this system. right? Blah, blah, right? We don't know to get into the details, but I think it would be great to have an application that people could have where they could have an AI submit their bills and their claims and do it autonomously and regularly to completely nullify the negative aspects of the insurance company's AI. That would be a great product. I mean, my goodness, I would sign up for that, that you could just submit to this application or this AI that would then automatically resubmit your claim and go through, would analyze the rejection letter, and then it would automatically get the necessary documentation to resubmit, and just what do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I think it's an idea. I'm just thinking it through. It's all about having access to data, right? So
I'd pay
if
$9 a month for that. I don't know about you.
yeah, yeah, I thinking it through, I would create an agent, an AI agent that could do that, and then my access to information, meaning that it could go into my computer, going through my accounts receivables and receipts and everything, so
Thinking
that it
about
had the data.
I'm thinking for the actual patient. Now you're the patient.
No, I'm saying the same.
Yeah.
I'm saying the same. In order to do what you have to
Yeah.
do, you need to be able to, for the reappeals, you need data. And so having access, and you can do that in form of an AI agent that's able to go into your computer, go into your receipts, go into everything, and then autonomously can send that for you. It can be done.
Yeah, and then if you could also talk with your health medical record, that would be I think that would be a thing of beauty. That'd be an interesting thing to evolve.
Yeah.
But I digress. So where have you noticed, what countries have you seen ahead of the curve with the adoption of AI? And are you, just let me get I have my own opinions, but I'm curious, what have you noticed? Like, what parts of the world are doing a better job of adopting AI?
Yeah, let's bring up Singapore just because we started there. I was shocked when I was there and listening to the different companies presenting different products and what they were showing and how they were using it. The advantage that they have is, like you said, they're obviously technologically advanced. They have the funding. They are the government is supporting it, and having the government support you. I know in the United States it has a negative stigma, but the power of the government to say, we want to fix this problem and we're going to change the laws around it to fix it. And what is the widget that's out there to make sure that this works, and put it all in one? Man, what a powerful statement to be able to change healthcare overnight. Whereas in the US, there's just so many loops to go through. And by the time the law becomes a thing, maybe AI is already out, maybe some other derivative AI that's in. And so it's just so powerful. So to me, Singapore, I was impressed. I'll say this one statement. Gosh, I think it's almost 9 months ago, maybe a year now. A senator or official from Singapore said anyone over 40, the country was going to train in AI so that they would have a new tool. I was like,
Nice.
wow, forward thinking.
Yeah. No, that's a beautiful thing. In America's defense, one thing I've noticed since moving to Europe is that America is more similar to Europe than people realize, because the states in America, they really do function as autonomous countries. There's a lot more loopholes. I mean, just for a doctor to work in another state, you have to reapply for a license, you have to reapply for a DEA number or what have you. It's not easy, but getting states to agree on things, this whole issue with abortion, for instance, it's legal in one state, it's not legal in another state. So, and certain governments have very different opinions on how things should be dealt with. So it's hard. America is a huge country with, 330 million people. Europe is 440 million people. But in America's defense, it's difficult. Singapore is how would you define it? A city state? What is it's a country? I mean, what do I refer to it as? I don't want to offend anybody.
Yeah, no, I see your point.
I mean, how many people are in Singapore?
I need to go back and look those numbers. I don't think it's many. I was shocked how small it is, but they have a lot of power. And what was interesting when I was there, and this is ADHD a little, they had some landline and some water that they converted to land, and they pushed the country borders a little bit bigger just so that they could have more land. I thought that's amazing. It's just so small that they need every square inch.
Yeah, so Singapore has a population of 5 million. So it's like it's great, and we should take all the things we learned from Singapore and or places like that and try to replicate them. I know places like South Korea, I mean they have socialized healthcare that works very well. I heard some crazy facts, like they don't have garbage cans in South Korea. I didn't realize this. They fixed the problem of plastics and waste it overnight. They just made a whole law, like you have to pay for the bag to throw away your garbage. So overnight, they're able to they fix the problem of waste, of plastic waste and everything, because if you're a wasteful person, you have to pay more. So people, they walk around with their trash all day long until they get home, and they have a different respect for things. And we need to look elsewhere, I think, for solutions around the world and apply them around the world. So looks like we're running low on time here, guys. But Vincent, so here you have a entrepreneur, emergency room doctor, international AI savant. What do you think for our young viewers watching it? What should they be focusing on to be relevant in the future? Do they need to focus on AI? Do they need to focus on business? Do they need to go deep into get a PhD in biology or what have you? How do you see the next generation? How do they stay relevant? Honestly,
I mean, my
especially now that
mentorship activities, with students are, if you go and become a physician, when I did my surgical residency, I was never taught what an ICD-9 code was, a CPT code was. They never taught us medical billing. You graduate as a surgeon and you don't even know what a claim form is. So if you're going to be relevant moving forward, you need to tool up on some basic fundamentals in business. And whether you take certificate programs or what have you, the medical schools aren't teaching it, so I'm not aware of many doing that. And then on the tech side, if you're not tech savvy and not interested in technology, I think you'll be kind of left behind. So there's a blending of some technical skills and business skills that would help our medical students and residents, but that needs to be organized and offered as a class or a certificate program, which a lot of the schools they're not doing. So but you don't want to be left behind, right? And look at all the extra work that we did learning things. As Harvey said, education's important. We have masters in information systems and science and MBAs, so that's why we're able to talk to business folks and like Harvey is all over the world. So I'm pro additional schooling. But that's not a really popular thing to tell people that are already working 90 hours a week, right?
So Harvey, when did you do your MBA? Was it before you opened up your emergency room departments? Did you learn on the fly? How did you do it?
Yeah, I got a lot of slack from my business partners. They're like, Harvey, you have a street MBA. You need to not go get your MBA. And it was actually as I was starting to sell all my businesses that I went back and got my MBA. I think everybody does different ways of doing things, but for me, having the street cred, having the MD, I personally felt like I needed those initials, because if you meet me outside of my past, you just say Harvey Castro, MD, you're like, well, that's a doctor. But if you see MD, MBA, it makes you think. And then once you scratch the surface, they're like, holy cow. No, he literally has an MBA. He's used the MBA. It's not just a certificate or letters after his name. And so for me personally, it was even better, because when they were teaching theory in this, I was like, oh, that's why I do X, Y, and Z. I didn't know why. I just knew that that's how you should do it. But then I saw the book knowledge and the theory and the psychology and all of that. And I'm like, that makes more sense now. So it was kind of a better education, kind of like being a pseudo doctor and then going through med school. You're like, oh, now it makes sense. I jokingly say my colleagues that grew up with parents that had doctors, they knew a lot of medicine just because they grew up around it. Same analogy. to answer your question, I know we're running out of time. I do want to say, when it comes to the next generation, I tell my kids, my personal kids, and the kids that I mentor, it's important to know how to pivot and how to learn. If you can learn how to pivot in life and how to learn, you're golden, because you can pivot. And then when you need to learn, you know how your brain works and how to put things in there and how to learn. And so if you could master that thing down, man, you got AI with you. And I just did a TED Talk, and my closing statement basically is, you need to learn how to use AI plus human will beat the best human or the best AI. Together,
Yeah.
you're going to be unstoppable. So keep that in mind. Use both.
Yeah, that's in the book by Gary Kasparov. With Big Blue and all this stuff, they found out when just what you said, they found out when they were competing against the computers in chess that the best combination was the human and the AI. And we actually wrote a paper about it, about handheld robotics, and trying to explain how the combination is going to be better, just like what you said. We couldn't agree with you more. Vincent and I couldn't agree with you more. So, Vincent, I'll let you close this out. So maybe, with the last few minutes, we can stop the recording. We can talk to Harvey a minute offline.
Sure. Well, it's a great pleasure, Harvey. Thanks for being our guest number 59, right, Andrew? We're almost closing out our second season.
Season 2, yeah.
On the AI and Cybersurgery podcast for our journal. So it's been a great pleasure. We'll have you on again, I think, for season 3 to talk about maybe some specifics, maybe some use cases or some of your pilots, and we'll share what we're doing. But, thanks again for being on the show, and we'll talk soon.
Awesome, guys. Thank you, everyone. And if you want to find me, just literally type in Harvey Castro MD in all the social media, and you'll be able to find me. Just like you and I met on LinkedIn.
Great. I guess they can scan your code there too, right?
Yeah.
All right,
that'll
perfect.
work.
Smart. We got to get one, Vincent.
Sure.
Actually, I'll throw this in there. If you go on that takes you to my website, and you have my PowerPoints. But then more importantly, I created my own digital twin under the resource page, and you can have a conversation. And I uploaded all my books, all the interviews, everything's there. So if you have a question, you literally have a conversation chat bot through it. And then recently on the homepage, I added a conversational feature. It doesn't have the RAG model, but it has my voice just for kicks, just a fun conversations. You could talk to me.
Well, it would be great. I mean, could we maybe in season 3, could we do a podcast with your digital twin? Would that work, you think?
Yes. Oh yeah. No, we could. We
That
can
would
ask
be-
it questions, and we can see what he has to say, and then put it on
that
there.
would be surreal. It'd be surreal to actually ask you the question.
Yes.
And then actually compare it. That would be so mind-boggling. Oh, this is
we could have our 3 digital twins do it, and we can be on a sailboat, and we won't have to be on the podcast.
We'll go to Hawaii for the weekend. Oh, that'd be hilarious.
There you go. Well, now you stole my thunder. For 2025, my goal is I have a humane AI pin, and I'm asking the CEO to give me access to it. And once I have the API, I'm going to have it talk to my digital twin. So when I'm on stage, you ask me a question, I answer it, and then we ask the digital twin, and I have the humane AI pin answer it. But I may have to do that through my Apple phone. So I'm going to do that for when I'm on stage.
Well, with that, we'll bye everybody, and we'll see you soon. Thanks for
Take care, guys. Take care, Harvey.
time with us.
Thank you, guys.
See you.
Bye-bye.